A lot of times when you fail in life, people try to build you back up and they say, hey, don't worry about that, man. That failure doesn't define you. And I get where they're coming from, man. They're trying to build you back up to keep encouraging you. That way you can keep moving forward. But maybe failure does define you, or it should. Not who you are, but what you do and where you go from here. I mean, when you take your dog outside on your freshly manicured lawn, what's the first thing they do? They go out there and they take a dump. And then they look back and they sniff on and around it. They're looking for something. What about you when you take a dump in life? When you take a dump in life, do you just walk off acting like it never happened, acting like it's no big deal? Well, you should. And I know looking at your dumps, looking at your failures in life, man, that's the last thing you want to do is because it stinks. The last thing you want to do is take a look at it, but there's so much valuable information in there, but you'll never get it if you don't look at your failures. I remember listening to Kobe Bryant, and he was talking about he was coaching his daughter's basketball team, and one of the University of Connecticut players, she would help in the offseason, help his daughter's team. And so at the end of practice one day, they're just sitting there shooting around and stuff, and he walks up to her and he says, hey, did you ever look at that loss? And you have to understand that University of Connecticut was coming off their first loss they had in years. Notre Dame sent them home in overtime. Notre Dame went on to the national championship and they went home. That was their first loss in years. She said, no, I didn't watch the film. I didn't watch the film because it was too painful. He said, well, let me ask you this. Next year, you think that you're going to face Notre Dame again? She said, probably. He said, you think that you're going to face them in the playoffs again? She said, it's a possibility. He said, then how will you know to defend them? How will you even know how to beat them if you don't know how you lost in the first time? You got to look at the failures, man. You got to look at the failures. But instead of internalizing, instead of looking at the failure and make it a part of your DNA, man, it's not a part of who you are, but it is a part of the machinery of your success. So instead, look at your failure as a piece of machinery, man. So that way you can look at the synchronicity of what happened, what didn't quite come together, looking at all the gears, at the processes, at the operations, what didn't quite come together. And if you can determine that, if you can find that failure, then it'll determine where you go from here. So yes, failure does define you, or at least it should.